Welcome back. This week, Harvard hosted its traditional election postmortem with key figures from both the winning and losing campaigns, not just in the general election, primaries as well. What's typically a thoughtful and reflective forum, sort of a second draft of history, soon turned hostile as tensions ran high in both of the general election campaigns. Clinton Communications Director Jennifer Palmieri accused the website Breitbart, once run by Trump campaign CEO and now incoming White House staffer Steve Bannon, of promoting racist views.
If providing a platform for white supremacists makes me a brilliant tactician, I am glad to have lost.
Do you think I ran a campaign where white supremacists had a platform? You going to look me in the face and tell me that?
It did. Kellyanne
really?
did.
Trump campaign manager Kellyanne Conway also took issue with Clinton pollster Joe Benenson for bringing up Clinton's popular vote lead.
The fact of the matter is that more Americans voted for Hillary Clinton than Donald Trump. So let's put it in total context.
And there was nothing that said the road to popular vote anywhere. It was
Kellyanne,
road to 270.
I premised my statement by saying that, but you can't then...
Hey guys, we won. You don't have to respond.
Well, Kellyanne Conway and Joel Benenson join me now. We'll see if there's any yelling. They've both promised there won't be. But let me ask you both this, different versions of the same question. And Joel, I'll start with you. Are you being sore losers?
No, I don't think we're being sore losers. I think we've acknowledged, and I acknowledged in that exchange with Kellyanne right from the start, that they won. He's president-elect. But I was also saying and taking issue with the notion that there was a mandate, and that when you talk about connecting with people over America, Hillary Clinton had 2.5 million more Americans vote for her than Donald Trump. I'm aware of the currency of presidential elections, the Electoral College. I've been on 3 winning presidential campaigns. But a mandate is when you win big in the popular vote, when you win big in the Electoral College vote, like President Obama did 2 times. I don't recall Kellyanne, she may say so today, that President Obama had a mandate, or any Republican saying he had a mandate.
Kellyanne, are you being a sore winner? You've done this a few times. Your own Twitter, I think, bio now just simply says, "We won." It's like I dropped the mic.
Chuck, first of all, I showed great respect and grace to my colleagues from across the table for over 2 hours before this exchange happened. But the fact is that we're the ones who understood America. And the idea that we're going to talk about the popular vote, I think, answers your questions about sore losers. The idea that Donald Trump doesn't have a mandate after he got 100 more electoral votes than Mitt Romney did. He got 306 electoral votes. It wasn't close. He won states that had not gone Republican in decades. And by the way, had this been a race for the popular vote, we would have won that too, because Mr. Trump would have campaigned in California, in New York, stayed in Florida, gone to Illinois perhaps, these population-rich states. We did what you're supposed to do to become president. A, go and campaign in those states that were the so-called swing state, battleground states. B, actually have an economic message that appealed to workers across the country, actually talk about patriotism, defeating radical Islamic terrorism, repealing, replacing Obamacare. People open up their mailboxes, fire up their computers, they see these premium increases. But, you know, the idea that he doesn't have a mandate when on President Obama's watch, they've now lost the White House, 60 seats in the House, over a dozen Senate seats, over a dozen governorships, and over 1,000 state legislative seats. This Democratic Party is having an identity crisis and a circular firing squad. And what I heard at Harvard is the same thing I hear all the time. It's Jim Comey's fault. It's Bernie Sanders' fault.
Okay,
it's
but
anybody
Kellyanne,
but Hillary Clinton's fault.
Let me ask you this, though. A lot of people look at what you've said and what others have said, including the president-elect at his rally in Cincinnati, and say, boy, Team Trump, they can't seem to accept winning, that they haven't been gracious in victory. What do you say to that?
Chuck, you know what? I'm gonna hit back on that. I'm an incredibly gracious, humble person, and let me tell you something. Every single media outlet, including this one, on good days ignored us, on regular days mocked us. And that included when I told you and your colleagues there's an undercover, undercounted Trump vote. No, there's not. Maybe it's undercounted for Hillary, people said. These rally sizes matter because it portends the enthusiasm and momentum that is owned by Donald Trump. We're the ones with the message. We're the ones turning these counties around that President Obama carried twice with over 50% of the vote. We switched 200 counties, and we did that with messages that matter to people. He's the guy who talked about veterans, talked about defeating terrorism. I mean, you know, we were mocked and ignored. Go back and look at the headlines 2 weeks out everywhere. And the talk on networks like this. We were completely dismissed. Secretary Clinton wasn't even mentioning Donald Trump's name most of the time.
Joel, let me turn to you. She brought up this, and it seems as if we gathered together all the different reasons that you and others have given to Hillary Clinton's defeat. James Comey, third-party candidates, sexism, young voters, the media, Obamacare premiums, Bernie Sanders, health rumors. What wasn't on there was the point that Kellyanne just brought up. Hillary Clinton. Does she accept any responsibility for this defeat on her own?
Look, I think the reality here is that this was a strong campaign. Kellyanne Conway said they had a better message on the economy. When you look at voters who said they were voting for someone who cares about people like me, Hillary Clinton won those voters. When you look at voters who said the economy was their #1 issue, Hillary Clinton won those voters. Look, I think the issue now going forward is, and I think Kellyanne Conway, again today, Kellyanne talked about his economic message. I think he's raised the bar very high. I mean, this is a guy who during the course of the campaign, by the way, Kellyanne said built his businesses on the back of the little guy. And now voters are going to hear him as president call for giving the biggest tax cuts in history to corporations and very wealthy Americans. Twice as big.
You're not answering my question. Do you guys accept any? Do you guys accept this?
Yeah,
He did answer your question.
We did in
They
the
never
panel. We
accept
did in the
it.
panel, by the way. I also said in that panel, when we were asked what we have to do differently during the course of that day, the Democratic Party can't just keep winning the popular vote in presidential elections. We've won them 5 out of 7 times. We have to rebuild at the state levels. They did a very good job in some of their states that they had to win. They did a good job, obviously, in Michigan and Wisconsin by eking out narrow wins in those states where they hadn't won previously.
Joel, let me ask you this: if the election were, I'll get you one more shot here, I promise. But Joel, if the election were the first Tuesday in January and you had another 6 weeks here, what's one thing you would do differently in the last 4 weeks of the campaign?
Just probably do more.
More what, though? What does that mean?
I would do more states. I'd hit more states more frequently. I'd probably ask for another debate, probably ask for a faith forum to hear Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump both talk about their roots in faith and the strength of hers, which I think are dominant. I think we'd also probably keep talking about those tax cuts I just mentioned that we're going to hold him to during the course of his presidency. The biggest tax cuts, twice as big as the Bush tax cuts. I don't think that's what working people think they're going to get from Donald Trump, or that that's going to help them. But that'll be the high bar. He's got to clear.
Kellyanne, I want to ask you this. He went on this thank you tour, and he's going to continue it on states that he won. Does he have a plan? Do you give him advice? I've asked you this before, and you haven't really answered it. To go to some, not just states, but meet with some voters who didn't vote for him. He is down in the popular vote. Say what you want. We are a divided country. The California vote counts as much as the Pennsylvania vote. Considering how divided we are, does he have plans to do that?
Well, he does. I've answered the question many times. Of course, he started on election night in those wee hours on November 9th, Chuck, saying, I will be the president for all Americans, even those who did not support me. So he's not even inaugurated yet, and he's going around doing this, bringing jobs back keeping jobs here in this country through Cary and Indianapolis. He certainly will be a very actively traveled president. And Joel just hit on something that's absolutely correct, but wasn't done by his campaign. You have to show up where the people are. You can't just have a flood of advertisements and this vaunted ground game that didn't work. You have to go where the people are. Secretary Clinton took off a lot in August. We had like 137 events to her 88 or so events after these conventions. Donald Trump did not take 5 days off before that final debate on October 19th in Las Vegas. Secretary Clinton did, and everybody said, oh, she's so brilliant to take off 5 days. Voters looked at it and said, where are you? Come to me. Bring the message here. He will be a very active president. He will go to every nook and cranny of this country, and he will be the president to all Americans. It's time for those who lost to say he's their president too.
Kellyanne Conway, Joel Benenson, you are correct. Neither one of you yelled at each other. It was very, very respectful and very good.
This is called the full Jersey. We're Jersey guys. We're Jersey
couple
guys
of Jersey
and gals.
people. Fair enough. All right.
New York, Kellyanne, New York.
Thank you both. A little less heated than Harvard. All right. Hey, NBC News fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here, and then click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.